è tu.
Yo! We're live. Can everyone hear me? Can everyone see the Bitcoin chart? Are the volumes okay? Awesome. Quality all good. Perfect. Right, just gonna be a chill live stream. We'll check some charts, do some requests, answer some questions, give our game plans for the coming weeks, although yeah, choppy market, right? Not a lot of opportunities at the moment. If you ask me, trading wise at least, there's not a lot of volatility at the moment. We're just chopping in between like 94 and 80k. But yeah, we'll talk about what we want to see in order for us to enter new trades, what trades we took, which ones got closed, stuff like that. We'll also cover stuff like gold, silver, platinum for a bit, the dollar, stocks maybe, we'll see. All right. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I'll answer them as soon as possible. Right, so starting off with Bitcoin. Yeah, a lot of downside here, downside volatility, right? Came way lower than we initially expected. But still, right, what was the level that we wanted to see hold? The main level, the huge level on the Bitcoin chart. Or I'll not mark it out with a level because it's more like an area for me. Some people are saying it's a bit higher, some saying it's a bit lower, right? But I think we can all agree that the general area that needed to hold on the retest from the upside, and that we now need to break above in order for us to see new upside targets, right? And before we can even start talking about new all-time highs, is this blue area, right? It was the resistance right here at 110k, the level that got swept, right? Resistance again here, then we broke above, and that was the level that initially held here, then the higher low up to new all-time highs, the aggressive sweep on the 10th of October, right? That held as well. Another higher low, we thought, at least here. But then, unfortunately, from the sweep here, we broke below the level, retested it, and sold off aggressively. So, straight up, on the higher time frames, it's not really looking too exciting here until we break back above that level on a higher time frame closing basis, right? So what I want to see here on Bitcoin on the higher time frames, if we can get some strength here, and yeah, of course, on the lower time frames, we have some more resistance levels resting around here. But what you want to see in order for us to start talking about new all-time highs again, about 140k, 150k is a break above this blue area, and then we can start talking about buying the retest and selling new highs. Until then, it's a choppy market, right? And we can expect more ranging in between this blue area and the lows that we had down here, potentially even lower towards the opposite side of the range that we had down here, right? Which would be the blue level as the range highs, and then let's mark it out with another area like this. So just this green area as the opposite side as the support area. So could I see another stab at the lows? Of course. I do think that we could see more downside here to go for some lower time frame lows again. Do I think that we aggressively break below this green area so far? I don't think so. So I do think, especially if we start breaking lower from here, right, without retesting higher up first, I do think that it is just to put in a higher low here, maybe go for a sweep of this, but I do think that buyers step in then, and that will offer some great long opportunities to target then the opposite side of the range. Okay, so that's basically it on the higher time frame chart. Like I said, if you want to start talking about new all-time highs, we need a reclaim of this blue area. Where would I be looking for longs, high time frame longs, either around this green area or on the reclaim of this blue area? So let's move over to the lower time frames, which are a little bit more interesting. The 4-hour chart. So we entered longs last week. Last week it was. Why? Well, so we had the aggressive downside here without taking a lot of liquidity to the upside, and that's usually what it does, right? Bitcoin, what it does is it starts trending lower, right? And it doesn't give you a short entry. So what a lot of people, including me, right, would be looking for a short entry would be a sweep of some highs and then a break back below. And then continuation to the downside, right? Because then you have your clean short entry, you have your invalidation, and you have a target lower down. As I said lately, what Bitcoin tends to do is just leave all of those people waiting for those scenarios behind and just nuking to new lows, straight up. So what does that create, right? It doesn't only let people who are looking to get short on the downside sidelined, but what it also tends to do is create nice squeezes and targets towards the upside, right, on the other way once the downside is done, of course. So for Bitcoin, we dumped all the way into this 80k demand level, right, and key level, and that's where prices held and where we started bouncing, right? We started bouncing towards this high. And then from there, lower time frame wise, we swept some highs, retested them. We had this lower time frame range. And I made a video. It was like in this area that I made a video before this downside move. What did we say, right? It was towards the end of the week. What did we say? But yeah, it was not only towards the end of the week, but also towards the end of the month. What did we say? Ideally, what we wanted to see was downside early in the week and early in the month to sweep some liquidity lower down and to create that higher low that could potentially lead to higher prices in the future. So why does that give you a clean trade ID? Why we wanted to see that early downside in the week and early downside in the month? Because of creating the lower wick to the downside and then trade it towards the opposite side of the open of the candle to create the higher wick. And that's exactly what happened. So what happened on the weekly, right? Of course you can't see it anymore, but on this weekly open, what happened was we opened. It was also the monthly close, as you can see right here. They line up beautifully. We started nuking straight away, and then we marked out high time frame liquidity to the downside, which was this low right there. And as you can see, what happened there, we swept that last week's low, bounced nicely, and there, that was our trigger to get into longs, bet on this move, right, being the higher low that would lead to higher prices after, and have our invalidation below here, or maybe even a little tighter below that low time frame level here that got swept. So that's why, oh, I had it even tighter, didn't remember it anymore since it was from last week, but that was the trade that I entered there. I bet on this low being the low win, right? Why the confidence and the tighter stop? Well, because of all of those aspects lining up, being a higher time frame liquidity sweep early in the week, and the most important thing was having that draw on the flat top of the weekly candle and the monthly candle. Whenever you get those all of those factors lining up, it can often present you with a high probability long setup. So that was the plan, right? Bet on this being the higher low, this on being the weekly sweep that would lead to expansion to the upside later in that week, later in the month, right? And obviously what we got was nice upside. What was my first target? My first target was that weekly open, which was at that point a flat top. So let's mark it out with this. As you can see, so this right here was the weekly open, right? And as you can see, straight down. So that if you get that and you combine it with liquidity, so this low being swept with support demand, right, getting tested, then there's a very high probability, a very high chance that in fact you get that target within the same week or a week, a few candles after that, right? And as you can see, it played out beautifully. So our first TP was simply this flat top here, where we closed 50% of our longs. The next target was the highs, where we closed another 25% of our longs up here. And the latest target was just higher up, that higher time frame level that I talked about, closer towards 100k, towards lower time frame liquidity above all of these highs, like I said, into high time frame resistance. So 50% was closed there, 25% was closed there, and 25% at the moment is still open, with stops at break even. Stops at break even, I mean stops at my entry point. All right, so it's a winning trade no matter what. Obviously, I would like for Bitcoin to pump from here, right? Since then, we might get our final TP all the way above here. But let's talk about what we're watching next. So let's remove all of this again. Let's start clean, actually. So what's next? Weekly, right? What are the weekly levels that we need to be watching? Well, if you look at the weekly here, straight up, areas of liquidity, what do we see? We see that we have swept weekly lows on this move. We have swept weekly highs on this move, and we haven't closed a weekly candle outside of these boundaries so far. So that straight up gives you a clean range with this as a range high and this as a range low. Apart from that, where is weekly liquidity gonna be resting? Well, above this weekly candle, this weekly high, and below this weekly low. All right. Now, the fact that we have seen all of this downside into support, in my opinion, gives it a higher odds that this high gets swept first before this one. Also, because of the fact that we have seen that move to the downside where weekly liquidity here got taken. Of course, we've seen this one as well. But as I said, because we've seen all of this downside of the weekly, it makes sense that the weekly here sees a bounce higher up first before going for straight up new lows. But on the weekly chart, these are going to be your levels to work with. Let's mark it out like this. All right. So then the daily, actually those weekly levels, let's mark them out with a clean range. And as you're straight up going to see, guess where price is sitting on at the moment, and where we bounced right at our range mean. Okay, so straight up in a situation like this, and why I say like we're in a choppy market, and it's pretty normal. Why? Because weekly liquidity to the downside got swept on this move, weekly liquidity to the upside got swept on this move, so there's no clean draw on liquidity on the weekly. Weekly liquidity above here is unswept, weekly liquidity below here is unswept. And often, well, more than often, what you get in situations like this is price just chopping everyone up, going up, convincing people that it's gonna break upwards, and then rejecting hard, going back to the lows, convincing everyone that it's gonna go to new lows, and then bouncing back up until everyone's liquidated, everyone's chopped up, and then you make the final move and the real move to the upside or to the downsides. So what now, right? For me, I'm still in these longs. As I said, I do think it's also maybe just a bit of gut feeling that there is simply a good chance that we see higher prices before lower prices, but also simply because of the fact that this was my initial plan to target the opposite side of weekly liquidity all the way up here, and I'm just gonna stick to my plan. It doesn't make sense to me personally to close the rest of my longs here in the middle of nowhere. I'd rather sit comfortably in longs with my stops at my entry and see whatever it does. But probability wise, right, what do we need to see in order for us to see new highs? Well, what's gonna be key resistance straight up? The supply up here, right? The range high level, you can combine it, right, with the fact that we saw sideways price action here that led to this down move, then low time frame sweep here, back into that area, supply. So what do we want to see here? In order for us to target 100k weekly liquidity above here, we will need to see a break above 92 to 93k as soon as possible. What would that mean? That would mean, because now we have a high, a low, lower high, right? If we now make a lower low, I do think we see lower prices. What would that invalidate? Well, a break above here, putting in a higher high, and then here a higher low to target 100k. So sticky area to the upside is right there. To the downside, what do we want to see? Well, like I said, like I posted this morning, if prices want to bounce here, I think we need to do it as soon as possible and around this area, because I think if we start bleeding here and if we start rejecting on the lower time frames and break below this range mean level, at that point I think the next very logical target is towards range lows, and at that point we might even go for liquidity below here. All right, but then first target would be range lows. If they don't hold the low here, if that sweep doesn't bounce us, yeah, then it's off to new lows. So plan for me is quite simple. I'm just gonna be holding longs and see whatever Bitcoin does here. I don't see a clean trade ID right here if you're not in a trade. So if you're not in a trade, I would just sit out and wait, do something else. Because I could see both arguments for longs and for shorts. The short, well, the long, come on, the long ID would be something like, if you long here, yeah, you keep your stops. I would say below here, but even then, you risk the fact of that it's possible that we sweep this and bounce from there, so then it would wick you out. But even if you keep your stop there, right, and look for this and then a bounce, what is your target? Somewhere up here, 100k. As you can see, not the best risk reward. If you tighten your stops, okay, but still it's sitting at low time frame resistance here. So what would make more sense, a little bit at least, would be a short here with invalidation above that sticky area, above 93, 94k, and target lower prices below here, range lows, and the lows right there. Now the problem with this, again, is the fact that I think high time frame wise we're due for a bounce higher up, giving it a little bit lower probability. So it's possible, you know, that that you don't see a clean plan for either side. It's not because you're not bullish that you have to be bearish. It's not because you're not bearish that you have to be bullish. And it's not, certainly not, that you have to be in a position all the time, right? So for me, it's easy because I caught a nice entry from here that I'm just holding it, right? But if you're not in any positions, I would wait for a clean move. What trades would I take, right? Well, if we start breaking above here, you could try scalping the breakout from here towards at least weekly liquidity up here. But at that point, if we reclaim this, I don't think it's gonna be a move where we do this and nuke back down. At that point, I think we see at least close to 100k. Or, right, I would just wait for lower and confirm some strength and look to long it there, right? And that's basically it for Bitcoin. Any questions? Is that clear? El Romano, how are you, man? Good to see you. When are we going to see your face? Nah, man. Is this upcoming yearly open important, whether it's going above or below previous yearly open? Yes, but yeah, the yearly open is a bit tricky, I would say. I don't really like the yearly open that much, since it can be a pretty pivotal level, but if you're talking about using it as, like, for example, if you dump straight from the weekly open, right, and you create the lower wick, then targeting the opposite side if you have flat top, that concept I feel like works way better with weekly candles and monthly candles. Of course, the yearly candle is also going to be a monthly candle, but it's not that I would use it like that, like when the year is already half past, you know. So yeah, but as a pivotal level, like if you're above the yearly open, it's definitely a bullish thing. If you're below it, right, you can definitely use it in confluence with other things like that, you know. Can you do little charting for... We're not gonna do low cap meme coins, sorry. Same thoughts, nice. Targets for gold and silver. We'll do gold and silver after. What's the concept you do, man? I don't get that question. What is your plan if the median dot is bad? If the median dot is bad, what do you mean with that? You mean if the range mean here is lost? Well, if we do something like this and we start breaking towards here, I will get stopped on the remainder of my longs and I will wait it out. If we come down to these range lows and we start bouncing, like likely I'm going to sit out on Bitcoin until we break either above here with strength or below here with strength, or like the bigger play I would do is something like this, and then strength above here, and then look to trade it back towards here, or a break above here. Then we can start talking about 100k again. Don't you work with volume as indicator? Nope. Right, let's check some other charts. What are we going to start with? Let's do BNB first. So yeah, came all the way down into this blue area. In this blue area, we said that's a high probability bounce area. But so far, I have to agree on the fact that it's been so weak, right? I wanted to see a bounce towards at least back towards 1k, but even that, it seems to be very difficult. The monthly is swept liquidity and is above the monthly open, so that's a good thing. We could still get that, especially if we see some strength in Bitcoin. But for now, also just choppy market, low time frame wise, same, yeah, pretty similar to Bitcoin. We have this as your key level that needs to be reclaimed. If you reclaim this, right, you can start talking about these highs into this key level, that area that I talked about, right, that I wanted to see retested, the 1k level. But until then, I could easily see this dump lower. So not the clearest. Ethereum maybe. ETH is looking a lot better in my opinion, and saw some strength, right? We had this clean resistance turned into support. And the more important thing on the lower time frames was this range, right? What did we want to see? This range, range low getting reclaimed. And as you can see, failed to do so here, sold off again, put in a higher low, bounced aggressively, higher high, reclaiming the level, and now shaping up like it wants to expand higher, in my opinion. So for me, Ethereum is looking pretty good, as long as we can hold above that lower time frame low here. So as long as this area, the daily range low and the level that got swept here hold, I do think that we're good for higher price towards there, here, and then up here. So what would that put you in? Something like this. Towards these highs, yeah, it's 0.6R, not the best. Towards supply, it's 1.13, and towards the highs, it's 2.5. So if you take it like this, it's decent, right? Could I see some lower time frame sweeps first? Definitely, right? We have up here, we have down here. So maybe wait for something like this, and then strength, right? And then you take it long here. Why wait for that? Because look at the difference it makes in your risk to rewards if you take it long from there compared to like this. It's almost 5R, while up here it's 2.3R. You could enter half here. Yeah, I might do so. I'll see the coming hours what we're going to get, but like I said, I like Ethereum. What would invalidate all of this? Obviously, what was the level that we wanted to see reclaim? The high time frame. Well, the daily range low here that got swept, rejected, higher low, reclaimed. So if we now fail to hold this, break back below here, yeah, then it's off to new lows, I think. Until then, I do think we bounce higher. Zcash. This was an idea that I had on Zcash, this obvious support level down here, and that was the trade ID, simply looking for a bounce. It's playing out beautifully, but of course I haven't taken the trade, so I'm not in longs on this one, but congrats if you took the long. I think I posted it in the Discord. But yeah, what Zcash suddenly super weak, right? All of this downside, now seeing a good bounce. but I'm not sure it's gonna have the strength to break to new highs. Market structure was broken, right? If this was your higher high, this was your higher low, then this was your lower low, this was your lower high, whoa, and this was your lower low, right? So what you're looking for now is for this to put in another lower high somewhere in this area, and I think that's going to be the case. So swept this weekly as well. Maybe, like, it's difficult though, because it could squeeze all the way up back into weekly supply at 650 and reject hard from there. So then what's your risk reward? Up here it would be good, right? Something like this. But if you want to short here, like your invalidation is all the way up there, like it sucks, you know. So yeah, winning game for me. Zcash a good short here or no? I would say, yeah, technically, I see the setup, I see the short setup, right? Why? Because the weekly swept last week's high, flat bottom, right? So I definitely see the short setup. The only thing that I don't like is your invalidation. Where do you put your invalidation, right? Because it could be the weekly retest the lower high, sweep from here and reject and start dumping lower from here, but it could easily pump and squeeze all the way back into 550, somewhere like that, and still dump from there with basically the same setup. So where do you put your invalidation, right? And that's the reason why, yeah, it's difficult. If you put it there, let's see. If you think that this move, this sweep right there is going to hold, something like this maybe, then it makes sense. But like I said, it's difficult because it could easily do this and then start rejecting. So I decided not to take it. Wait, face reveal. No, man. Maybe one day. My invalidation is 520. Yeah, I'd put it slightly higher because as you can see on the week, on the daily, this daily candle was the move, right? That swept this previous daily high, and then that is where the move to new low, to a new lower low started, right? So if this is a higher low, this is a higher low, then from here, right, we broke down, retested, and sold off. So then I'd put it, like, if you have it right at 520, I'd just put it a bit higher at like 540, 550. But hey, follow your plan, you know. Could ETH sweep all-time high in your opinion? Yeah, of course, why not? A lot will have to happen for that, but why not? If Bitcoin reclaims 100k, if Ethereum, like step by step, you know. So for now, it looks like everything is in a chop market. Everything is just ranging, liquidating everyone. But once we get some action on the weekly and start reclaiming some levels, why not? The level to reclaim on ETH is pretty obvious, right? Is this range high level. Weekly close above here, you buy the retest and you sell 7k. But hey, I thought we were going to see 7k from this move and from here, right? But that happens, you know. You take losing trades. Easiest way to trade these is just buying spots and holding. All right. So some traditional markets, starting off with the dollar. What did we say on the dollar, right? We wanted to see the retest of this range low level from the underside hold as resistance, and for the dollar to start breaking lower and dump towards this weekly demand all the way down here. Initially on the daily, right, we retested it right here, swept it, started rejecting, then we wanted to see continuation, right? Sorry, didn't happen. We bounced aggressively, well, pretty aggressively. But what did we say up here? We're giving it some time. If we really get the breakthrough and the weekly close up here, that would be bad. Then the retest would probably be a buy, and we would be back in this range low and this range high. So at that point, target the opposite side of the range. But as you can see, so what did we say? Give it some time. If it fails to do that, right, and it starts rejecting here, it's just going to be another bearish retest that could lead to more downside. And as you can see, bearish retests ended up in making a lower low here. So for now, for me, the dollar is looking bearish, right? Could retest somewhere around here, but then should start trading lower. And ideally for Bitcoin, for gold, for all the others, start really breaking down here. So Bitcoin can go higher, and commodities as well. Talking about commodities, gold, right? We traded the bounce from these range lows nicely towards here, closed it at the top at supply, right? Was a logical loss resistance on the daily chart before new all-time highs. Then from there, flat, right? Bounced again at demand, swept the highs, broke below again, and now that is key resistance. As you can see, rejected there, another sweep here rejected. So straight up, what's the level that we need to reclaim on gold in order for us to see higher prices? Up here, break above here, right? And I think we see new all-time highs. As long as we don't do that, right, I think we could easily trade back towards these lows and potentially even all the way back towards these lows into range lows. I don't think that it's gonna straight up break down, right? I think it's way too bullish for that on the higher time frames, right? All of this upside, I don't think it's just gonna do this now and trade all the way down there. But I do think that we're still range bound here on the daily, on the 4 hour. So why not go for some lows, something like this, and then go higher, or all the way down into range lows and then start grinding up again and trade to new all-time highs. Silver, in fact, did already break out, right? We're still fully in our positions. What the area that we were watching from the start was from the high to the low, using Fibonacci levels 1.618 around the $70 plus area. That's where I'm gonna be taking some profits. Until then, I'm just chilling in this. High time frame wise, this looks absolutely amazing, and I don't see any reason why I should start taking profits already. I could see silver trade way higher into this area, and even then, right, trade higher into the 3-figure area. Low time frame wise, so we had this range. What did we say there? If we get a clean sweep of the lows and a reclaim, that's where we would get long, targeting the opposite side and new all-time highs. Unfortunately, we are in, but we didn't trade it. This demand retest held and we simply broke out, and now consolidation. So yeah, breakout of here, and it's gonna go for another leg higher in my opinion. So bullish, bullish, bullish. Platinum is lagging a bit, right? Hasn't really broken out of the lower time frame range yet, but as you can see, the monthly chart is an absolute beauty. We entered all the way down here in this ranging area, targeting range mean and range high, broke significantly above range mean, now just chilling. So I do think any dip is a buy on this one, targeting range highs, right? Targeting up here and up here. And even then, could also see this one break out and trade a lot higher over the coming months to years. but we'll have to see about that, right? For now, I think any dip is a buy here. So let's see lower time frames. It's quite of an ugly level there. This is an obvious SR flip, and right now, if you take this, that's the obvious lower time frame support level. 4 hour has just been ranging, so local highs, local lows. If you get something like this, a sweep in there and strength, that's long in my opinion, targeting local highs here, this high and this high here, into the breakouts a lot higher. But I really think on this one, any dip is a buy. All right. Stocks, maybe the S&P. Yeah, this was the level I was watching. I wanted to see a sweep there and then higher, but yeah, slightly front ran it. I'm not really actively trading this one at the moment. But yeah, obviously, as long as this is bullish, yeah, I'm not gonna say Bitcoin's bullish, but it's better for Bitcoin when this is trading a lot higher rather than when this is nuking, right? Obviously. So, but for now, not too excited because it's at all-time high resistance with this as the clean lows. So could easily see this ranging below these two levels over the next couple weeks. But yeah, if it breaks above here, puts in another high, who knows, right? $7K would be awesome. I'm feeling bearish, but thanks. Oh, that's on Ethereum, I think. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see what Bitcoin and ETH are doing. Lower time frame, rejecting a bit. Yeah, like I said, I liked Ethereum for longs as we reclaim this range low level, but I don't like Bitcoin. And combining the two, I think it's safer to wait. And I think, right, Bitcoin has the risk reward up here for shorts, definitely, back towards range lows. So it's better to wait, and then to wait for longs on Ethereum on the lower time frame sweep below here. But if I'm longing, I think I'm going to long Ethereum over Bitcoin. See, ETH Bitcoin also looking a bit bullish again, bouncing here, sort of around the bottom. And yeah, the risk reward is just better, I think. Would be something like this. Long the sweep, close invalidation below here. And the target, yeah, would be new highs. It's already 1 hour towards here. You see? So yeah, something like that. Right, any more questions? So yeah, for me, like, it's difficult, you know, to sit on your hands and do nothing, but it's very often the right decision, and that's how markets work. So we'll have to see, you know, can last a couple more days, can last a couple more weeks, months, who knows. But mark out your levels, know what you want to see, make a plan, right, and follow it. And as long as you don't get the plan you were looking for, simply do nothing, I would say. All right, so quickly, I post all of my charts and trades in my Discord. I'm currently, I restarted the 10K challenge. Why restarted? Well, I initially did a 10k challenge and ran up 10k all the way to 90k plus, then back down to 60k or something, because I started longing way too early. But then I moved over to a DEX and started moving funds, added to spot backs and stuff. And ever since, I haven't really traded it publicly anymore, but recently I started again. Those longs that I talked about were the first trade, so we're up nicely already. If you want to join the Discord, it's completely free. All I'm asking is to make an account on Blowfin and start trading there, right? So we're currently have a little campaign running where you can get rewards if you trade volume. You can win an iPad, an iPhone 15, all the way up even towards an Omega. So check it out. The link is in the description if you want to join our community, The Hunt. Check out the details. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them on Twitter in my DMs or in the Discord using DM, and we'll see. All right, so take care everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.